And I never, I never had an artist, I never had an issue with anyone. You know what I mean? Like, I was always, it doesn't matter whether it was the street, it doesn't matter that. I would never take payola. I would never fucking play something that wasn't right for my radio station. I would never compromise. You couldn't intimidate me. You could not, how many streets...
Did a lot of people try to intimidate you?
Oh, fuck yeah. Because, you have to understand every West Coast gangster rapper is affiliated with a gang. Yeah. So, the first thing that would happen is the intimidation thing. You know what I mean? I'd be like, kick back. Like, dude.
Did Suge Knight ever feel the type of way that you were behind the scenes trying to orchestrate?
I met Suge Knight.
How? Well, obviously, besides the Tupac story.
I met him through the Anaheim Police Department.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So what happened is we had Snoop and all these guys on Powerhouse, right? Suge gets out of jail, and the Anaheim Police Department, Diana, show up in my office, and they're like, we're going to cancel Powerhouse. And I'm like, for what? And they're like, Suge Knight just got out of jail. And there's a rumor that he's going to come to Power 106 and fuck up the show, or the Powerhouse and fuck up the show. I'm like, well, why didn't somebody call him, invite him? At least we'll know where he's at. And where I got that idea is when we were in Hawaii, the Booyah Tribe showed up.
Shout out to the Booyah Tribe.
Yeah, so that's how I met them.
Serious guy. Shout out to Carson.
Rest in peace. Yeah. Red and Godfather and Giant, one of my best friends. Like, I love Giant. Giant's come and stayed at my house, knew my grandma, came to grandma's funeral. You know what I mean? Like, those guys, I love them. Cobra, great guys. Big Gotti, love you, bro. Love you, bro. Who've had my back unconditionally through everything. And I love those guys.
Yeah.
So they show up. Snoop starts coming out and he's like, Booyah Tribe downstairs, cut, we're going to go da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, whoa. I said, let me go deal with it. Because I had heard of the Booyah Tribe back when they did a record with EYC on MCA. So I knew they were rappers.
Right.
So I was like, look, at some point they're going to want the record played. So the best way to do this is for me to go down,
say, hey,
introduce myself, acknowledge and show them respect, and maybe they will do the same. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I go down the thing, and I think it was Giant that was standing right there. And I come down the escalator, and they're arguing with the police department to let them in or whatever it is in Hawaii. And I say, back out, motherfucker, before I knock you out. To the biggest one that I see, just little kid, white kid, thought it would be funny, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yo, I remember when you guys were making records with EYC. I said, you on the Janet Jackson video, Cobra, and That's the Way Love Goes. Like, yeah, what's going on with your music, by the way? And who the fuck are you? I said, I'm Damian Young. And then Godfather comes out through the middle, rest in peace. And he's like, we have heard of you. And I was like, yes. And I said, are you guys ever going to put another record out? And they said, well, yeah, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, well, why don't you guys come in as my guest? And the next time you have a record, you won't have a problem.
Right.
And they're like, come inside as a guest? And I'm like, yeah. So they came in, and I didn't know them yet. You know what I mean? So I was like, to the police department, I'm like, you should put security around them because they're famous, and I don't want any fans to fuck with them.
Got it. Smart. Yeah.
So the police put a thing around them, and I go backstage, and Snoop goes, yo, what happened with the Booyah Tribe? And I was like, it's handled. And he was like, what are you talking about? Where are they? And I said, they're in the audience. And he goes, what? And I was like, dog, at least we know where they are. They have, look through the thing. They have police all the way around them. They'll just enjoy the show. I took care of it. And he goes, well, if you sure, da-da-da-da-da, well, I'm going to trust you, cuz, blah, 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 da-da-da-da-da. Went off without a hitch. But from then on, the Booyah Tribe and I were great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, no, I've never had an issue with anyone.
That's interesting.
But, through that, I met everybody. I met Big U. I met, Muggs that ran with Mac 10.
Shout out to Muggs, Inglewood Muggs.
Yeah, Inglewood Muggs was one of my mentors. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and, they would make jokes like, oh, little white boy, you won't come to the hood, and, da-da-da-da. So I'm like, yeah, let's go. So Muggs one time, we go over to see Gotti, at the shop, and then we're standing on Muggs's porch. I had just met Muggs's mom, and we're standing in Inglewood, and I was scared for my life. So I had a gun and the weed on me, just in case. You know what I mean? Because I didn't know where the fuck they were taking me. I just met these guys. I know they're, you know, how I met him was through Mac 10, and it started kind of with an argument. You know, not an argument, but like, you know, you ain't, you afraid, you white program director won't come, you know, all this. I'm like, fuck it, let's go. So Muggs picks me up one day and takes me to Inglewood, to his house, to meet, you know, all of his friends and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So we're standing in his driveway, and rest in peace to his mom. We're standing there in the driveway, and a freaking LAPD car pulls up and just stops and hops out. And they look at Muggs, they look at everybody, and then they look over at me and they're confused. Like, the hell is going on? And back then, I wore tan Dickies, K-Swiss shoes, and a white T-shirt to everything. That's just what I wore. You know what I mean? And they just got back in the car and took off. And Muggs tells a funny story. He's like, yeah, and he's the one that had the guns and weed on him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and if that would have gone down, my career would have been over.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
sure.
But that's what it was.
It's crazy.